FusionFall was a children's game. For this reason, some references went over the heads of the players, only recognizable to teenagers, adults, or anyone who went and did some research. Today, we will be looking at a list of references I've spotted. Some are flat-out references, and others I'm making guesses on where they came from. Starting off the list is the whole reason I even decided to do this. When doing research into the many arcs of FF's regions, I came across On the Precipice. This three-parter heavily references the 1954 film On the Waterfront. As you can tell, the titles are very similar, but that's not all. Three plumbers also share name similarities with characters in the movie. Plumber Marlin is named for the film's actor, Marlon Brando. Plumber Charlie, Plumber Marlin's brother, is named after the character Charlie Malloy, who is the brother of Terry Malloy, played by, you guessed it, Marlon Brando. The final plumber is Plumber Barry, named after the character Father Pete Barry. A final reference to this movie is Plumber Charlie's line, "I could have been a defender." This is a reference to Terry's line in the film, "I could have been a contender."
I could have been a contender.
If it hadn't been for this line, I would have never known that the writers went to so much effort for this mission set to reference a movie I am almost sure no one in the FF community has seen. The mission set doesn't borrow anything from the plot itself, but that's probably for the best since On the Waterfront deals with corruption, extortion, racketeering, and union violence. Might have been hard to work that in considering the alien invasion and all. Of Fathers and Fusions is probably a reference to the 1937 novella of Mice and Men, which is itself a reference to a line in the 1785 poem To a Mouse.
The best laid schemes of mice and men.
The three-parter has nothing to do with the 1930s Depression, but the title of the mission makes me think of the book. Don't Fear the Reaper is a reference to Blue Oyster Cult's Don't Fear the Reaper. This is one of the references I did recognize while playing the game because my dad would play the song quite a bit for me to be familiar with it. I even sing the song a little whenever I get the mission from Grimm. Like everything else on the list, the mission set doesn't have anything to do with the song. When Retro rolled out the Out of the Omnitrix update, Spider Monkey was one of the NPCs added. His mission titles all have a reference to Spider-Man. Even Simeon Snap, Mojo's related mission, is a reference to Peter Parker's status as the Daily Bugle's photographer. Piggybacking off this update, Sonar Ocean Sonata Part 2 makes a reference to the Beatles, a group Mojo, Princess Him, and Fuzzy were a part of that were named after the popular 1960s English band, The Beatles. He even makes a reference to one of their songs, 8 Days a Week. While I'm sure it isn't supposed to reference anything in particular, Captain's Log feels like a nod to Star Trek, where the captains will usually make a captain's log to recap what had happened before the commercial break and what their current dilemma seems to be.
Captain's Log, Stardate 2263.2.
Princess, Princess, Princess is most likely a reference to the Brady Bunch, where Jan would say in a jealous fit, Marcia, Marcia, Marcia.
Marcia, Marcia, Marcia!
A Boy Named Sue is a mission meant to introduce Mandark, whose real name is Susan. The title mission, along with Mandark's real name, is a reference to Johnny Cash's A Boy Named Sue. Johnny V. Good, a mission given by Dr. E. Strangelove, is a reference to Chuck Berry's Johnny B. Good. And since I mentioned Dr. E. Strangelove, it should be mentioned that the character is a reference to the 1964 movie Dr. Strangelove. Dr. E. Strangelove has a German accent since Dr. Strangelove was a German. While Dr. Strangelove was a nuclear war expert, Dr. E. Strangelove is a member of the Blood Gnat Patrol trying to figure out why Johnny is immune to the Blood Gnat's effect. New Creep in Town is most likely a reference to the Eagles' New Kid in Town. Mark of a True Nerd's mission dialogue heavily references Star Wars, especially with the character having to speak with either Sticky Beard or Larry 3000, both of whom are voiced by Luke Skywalker himself, Mark Hamill. When Harry Met Larry is a near word-for-word reference to the 1989 movie When Harry Met Sally. While this cannot be proven and is most likely just my interpretation, what makes a monster heavily reminds me of the line in Hunchback of Notre Dame's The Bells of Notre Dame.
What makes a monster?
The titles of Chickens from Outer Space and Mutant Eggplants Attack are references to the sci-fi horror genre that was big in the 1950s, like It Came from Outer Space, Killers from Space, Invaders from Mars, and the 1996 comedy sci-fi Mars Attacks. All the World's a Stage is a reference to the line in William Shakespeare's As You Like It.
All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players.
While most missions don't refer to the thing they reference, All the World's a Stage is a 3-part mission that has Demungo acting like he still has his powers. This fits pretty well as a reference to a Shakespeare play. The final reference of the video is about one of the Blowfishes, Hootie. The name most probably comes from the band Hootie and the Blowfish. And that's everything I could find. How many of these did you already know? How many did you learn about today? Were there any you can remember that I missed? Please let me know down in the comments, and I'll see you all later.
The meanest thing that he ever did was before he left, he went and named me Sue.